prepare for the onslaught of NASA brainwashed zombies that are going to come your way, thinking that they know everything about the spinning ball they're living on.
But how dare you, young man, how dare you, and I mean this wholeheartedly, fella, how dare you say that NASA or the military or the space program is bogus? You have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't know what your agenda is. Are you trying to do a screenplay or a movie or a book or something? But you need to back off on this thing.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
Astronauts to the moon. Astronauts to the moon. Astronauts to the moon.
Let's talk about satellites. We've already discussed how there are no pictures of the Earth, so are satellites even real? Not likely. Ground towers are built all over the world and are more than adequate to relay our television, radio, and cell phone service.
All GPS is done through land-based towers, and things like Google Earth are taken with high-altitude planes, and most of them are just done with cars on street level. Did you know that satellites were actually invented by Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction author?
I didn't know that.
they shortly became science fact after that. The geostationary satellite, look it up. It was created by a science fiction author. And then within a decade, NASA claims to have sent a real one up there, and ever since then, that's where we get all our communications from.
So if satellites were real, we would constantly hear stories of them being hit by meteors or comets, and that doesn't happen. No one's ever lost their direct TV feed during the Perseids meteor shower because one of the meteors knocked out one of the satellites. Doesn't happen, it's never happened, and it won't happen. And that to me tells me there is no satellites. You would constantly be worried about them, and you would constantly hear about them having something happen, and it's so rare that you hear that.
And now we come to the imaginings of this man here. Arthur C. Clarke, Freemason and science fiction writer, came up with the concept of the telecommunication satellite. And several years later, we have thousands of telecommunication satellites supposedly spinning around the planet. Again, though, strangely enough, if you try and look for images of communication satellites, despite the fact that there are thousands of these things up there, you don't actually find a photograph of them. Just lots and lots of CGI photoshopped images. There are supposedly between 25,000 and 50,000 satellites in orbit. At about this point, somebody's bound to say, what about the global positioning system? How would that work without satellites? Well, as it happens, the technology has actually been around since World War II. There are actually two systems, one called LORAN and another called Decca. Those were navigation systems based on radio triangulation. Now, the GPS systems that we're used to now are basically the same systems, just improved with a new computer interface. Similarly, the international telephone traffic that's supposedly handled by satellites are handled by undersea fibre optic cables. Shortwave radio can also span large distances and also be bounced off the ionosphere. So, in the absence of any hard physical evidence, I submit that satellites are just a work of fiction and another way that NASA and the US military managed to con the American public out of billions of dollars.
All you have to do is lie on your back on a moonless night and look around carefully.
Yeah, occasionally you'll see something that looks kind of like a star, but it's moving. It's moving a little fast too, and that's actually a satellite.
Now, I do accept that you can look up into the night sky and see what we're told are satellites. I've done it myself. I've seen bright lights moving across the sky, but I have no idea what those things are. In this video, you can see several large bright objects. However, none of them appear on any satellite tracking applications. When you look up at a jet airliner flying at 35,000 feet, you can only see it as a small dot. So how is it if something the size of a jumbo jet is rendered as a small dot at about 5 to 7 miles up, that you can see a satellite which is the size of between a car and a school bus at 100 miles away? You just wouldn't see it.